Hello, everyone. We'll allow all the attendees just a moment to get signed in. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the Cabling Services and Related Products Optional Bidders Conference. You can change between your audio by switching computer audio and your phone call. Attendees are muted. Click the icon to confirm audio levels, please. A handout will be made available in the addendums, and I'll pass it over to Tony.
Awesome. Thanks, Vic. All right, welcome everyone to the Cabling Services and Related Products RFO Optional Bidders Conference. Next slide. All right, as you can see here, we'll be recording the conference and we'll be posting this to ESPD. It's going to be in the addendum. Questions submitted during this and prior to the conference will be answered via the addendum posted to ESPD. We will not be answering questions during this webinar, this conference, just to be aware of that. And you can continue to submit questions until the question deadline, which is identified in the RFO schedule in section 3.1. So if you have any questions, please submit them via bid stamp before the deadline. And just keep checking out at ESPD for frequent updates. Next slide. Hi. So our speakers today, it's myself, I'm the procurement lead. We'll have Teresa Williams from the Business Outreach Coordination Office, and then we'll have Aaron Fox from our accessibility team, and then we'll have Jennifer from our Office of General Counsel. Those will be our speakers for today. Next slide. All right, here's our agenda. We're going to go over the RFO, just a brief overview, the content, the scope, the evaluation criteria, the terms of the contract, the solicitation schedule. Then I'll hand it over to Teresa to go over the State of Texas subcontracting plan. Then Aaron will take over and discuss the digital accessibility. And then Jennifer will take over and discuss the matters of law and exceptions. And then I'll take it over to finish out the rest of the agenda, which will be general information, bid stamp overview, mandatory submissions, and then the conference closing. Next slide. All right, so here's the request for offer, the RFO. Next slide. All right, so the overview. The objective of this request for offer is to solicit responses for potential respondents to provide cabling service related products for the cooperative program co-op master contracts to customers acting by and through DIR. This solicitation is for services and related products only. DIR is not soliciting these services for the agency. DIR may make multiple awards for this RFO. The previous RFO was DIR-CPO-TMP-551. Next slide. All right, and here are the previous historical sales data for co-op, and then it breaks it down into the different categories between state agency, local governments, K through 12, higher ed, out of state, and assistance organizations. Next slide. All right, so in the RFO, we will have 3 attachments. Attachment 1 will be the sample of our master cooperative contracts. Second will be the standard contract terms and conditions. And third will be the state of Texas geographical zone map showing the coverages for the states. Next slide. And here are the content, RFO content exhibits. Exhibit A will be the response certification form. Exhibit A1, exception tables. Exhibit B will be the respondent company ability, capacity, and responsiveness. Exhibit C is your contract marketing and customer support plan. Exhibit B, state of Texas, subcontracting plan. Exhibit E will be your pricing sheet. And going with the pricing sheet will be Exhibit E1, which is the pricing scenario. Then you have Exhibit F is your EDGAR certification form. Exhibit G will be your PDAA. Exhibit H is your accessibility conformance report. And then Exhibit I will be your VATSER. Next slide. And going into here, in each one, Exhibit A is your response certification form. Will be disqualified if this is not completed and signed. So this form must be signed by the officer agent empowered to do so at your organization company. Exhibit A1 will be exemptions. If you have any exemptions to the standard terms and conditions, you must complete it on Exhibit A1, following with the RFO section 3736. Exhibit B will be your company ability, capacity, and responsiveness. This is scored in the evaluation process. Next slide. Exhibit C will be your contract marketing customer service plan. This is also scored during the evaluation process. Exhibit D will be your state of Texas subcontracting plan. Though there's a sample in the RFO itself. You'll follow the instructions in section 3.4.1. Next will be your pricing sheet, which is also scored during the evaluation process and must be submitted in Bitstamp. Next slide. Exhibit F is your EDGAR form. This must be submitted. Follow section 3.5.1 of the RFO. Then Exhibit G is the PDA. This must be completed and submitted for our accessibility team. And then Exhibit H is your VPAT. Next slide. And then the last one is next slide. Okay. RFO Scope. DR intends to contract with successful respondents to provide cabling services and related products. Respondent is responsible for ensuring the services and related products proposed are within the scope of this RFO. DIR may modify the scope of this RFO through an addendum. Respondent is responsible for monitoring ESPD for addendum updates and making any necessary adjustments to its responses. Next slide. All right, and here is the scope for services. Purpose of this solicitations, DR customers will be utilizing this contracts for a wide range of cabling services and related products for a single basic cable pull to the wiring of an entire facility. These cabling services may be related to the planning, design, installation, construction, and demolition, maintenance, training, or support of IT data, video, voice cabling using balanced copper cabling and fiber optic cables. Respondents may propose cabling installation pricing for multiple cable categories, including but not limited to the following: Category 5E, Category 6, Category 7, fiber optic or coax video internet for CCTVs or satellite. Next slide. And then continue on here in related products, section 2.1.2. Respondents may also propose any cabling equipment, products, and supplies that are related to the planning, design, installation, construction, maintenance, training, or support and test and tune-up of cable systems. Below are examples of various cable products that can be proposed in the RFO. Data racks, wiring management, patch panels, fiber boxes, wall faceplates, cable and faceplate connectors. Next slide. RFO related product continue. You have the inside plating cabling infrastructures. You get the wire trays, ceiling trays, fireproof resistant wire conduits, major distribution frames, intermediate distribution frames, cable wires, category 5E, category 6, category 7, fiber, coax. Next slide. And then next section is 2.1.3 related services. Related services are any value-added services that respondent may perform as related to the products proposed in section 2. Related services include, but are not limited to, product installation, integration, maintenance, and support, managed services, test and tune-up, and product training. Next slide. Section 2.2 is exclusions and out of scope. The following products and services are not in the scope of this RFO. Product services that are not advertised in this RFO in the NIGP commodity code tables on the title page of the RFO. Related services only, installation, maintenance, support, and test tune-ups, without and also providing an associated product or service within the scope. Outside plant services where distribution cables are run overhead or underground. Custom application development services, doable-based information technology services, DBIDs, cloud broker services, cloud assessment services, professional or consulting services as defined in Chapter 2254 of Texas Government Code. Products identified on the state of Texas prohibited software applications development list, and that's posted on DIR's website under Information Security Prohibited Technologies. And also telecommunication services, including any telecommunication services offered in a contract awarded by DIR under a Texas agency network procurement. Next slide. Evaluation criteria, pass-fail criteria. Administration review, Exhibit A has to be completed and signed. Missing or blank PDA self-assessment, and the state of Texas subcontracting plan needs to be completed and signed. And also into the financial review. Respondents shall provide an accurate DUNS number on Exhibit A with the respondent information. Respondents' financial stability as reported by Dunn and Bradstreet. Dunn and Bradstreet corporate addresses must match the addresses on Exhibit A, principal places of business. Next slide. Evaluation criteria. So section 4.2.1 is the pass-fail criteria. Incomplete response packages will be rejected. Financial review and state of Texas subcontracting plan review are on the pass-fail basis. Failure to provide a DUNS number may result in the responses being disqualified. Also, responses that receive the passing grade will proceed to the next evaluation phase. Next evaluation phase is the RFO section 4.2.2, the weighted evaluation criteria. Your pricing sheet was Exhibit B, is 45% of the evaluation. Exhibit B, the responding company ability, capacity, and responsiveness is 30%. Exhibit C, the contract, marketing, and customer support plan is 25%. Next slide. Evaluation criteria continued. When evaluating B and C, DIR will consider information submitted within the response form. Any information provided outside the response form, such as a web page, links, information included by references, will not be considered. This also includes marketing materials which are not allowed to be submitted as part of your response. DIR's evaluation of response history and experience may include considerations of respondent performance as recorded in the CPA's vendor performance tracking system as prescribed in Texas Administrative Code 34 TAC 20.115. Next slide. All right. Terms of the contract, section 2.6. DIR anticipates that the term of the master contract, corporate contract, will be an estimated 2 years, with one optional 2-year renewal and one optional 1-year renewal to be exercised by DIR at its discretion. Additionally, DIR is in the discretion, and its discretion may extend the term of the master cooperative contract by up to 12 months under the then current terms of conditions upon 30 days written notice to the successful respondent. Next slide. And here's the schedule for the solicitation. The RFO is published on ESBD on August 7th. We're having our current optional bidders conference today. The deadline for submitting questions is September 3rd at 2 p.m. The The deadline for submitting your response to the RFO is September 24th at 2 p.m. And then that we will conduct the evaluation of responses and go into negotiations from there. Next slide. I will turn this over to Teresa.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Williamson. I'm the Director of the Business Outreach Coordination Office. Let's talk about your State of Texas subcontracting plan requirements. Next slide, please. Okay, subcontracting has been found probable for any contract that will be awarded from the solicitation requiring the State of Texas subcontracting plan. Every respondent must complete and sign a State of Texas subcontracting plan. A copy has been attached in the RFO documents for your use. You will be required to use this copy. This is a new form and it does include instructions on how to complete. Please make yourselves familiar with this new form, but also remember that the Business Outreach Coordination Office is here to assist you. Next slide. Okay. All respondents, Vet Hub and non-Vet Hub, are required to submit a State of Texas subcontracting plan, also known as your SP. Failure to submit a completed, signed State of Texas subcontracting plan will result in your response being rejected, as this is a pass or fail item. Next slide. There are two ways to complete the State of Texas subcontracting plan. You will either self-perform or subcontract. If you are self-performing a contract, you will complete sections 1, 2, and 3, noting yes that your company will be self-performing, signing and dating the document in section 3, and submitting the completed document with your bid submission. Next slide. If you are going to subcontract any portion of a contract, you will complete the good faith effort. Please follow instructions as they are laid out in section 5.3 of the new form. The good faith effort does include notifying subcontracting opportunities to 2 certified vet hubs, allowing them a minimum of 7 business days to respond to you. You are required to submit copies of your correspondence with your subcontracting plan submission. Next slide. Okay. Our contact information is listed here. We will provide you with a complimentary review of your subcontracting plan prior to the due date of this RFO as time permits. You must contact us no later than 10 business days prior to the due date of this RFO. Please take advantage of this complimentary review because we are here to assist you. And remember that when you're corresponding with the Business Outreach Coordination Office, to copy Tony, the procurement lead. Thank you. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Erin. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Fox. I'm a statewide digital accessibility program specialist, and I will be going over the digital accessibility requirements and forms. Next slide, please. A little background on digital accessibility. It covers other terms you may have heard, like electronic and information resources, or EIR, and information and communications technology, or ICT. This is the state's effort to ensure all of our tools and technologies, including products, services, and related digital documentation, are accessible to all Texans. This is mandated under Texas Government Code Chapter 2054, Texas Administrative Code Chapters 206 and 213, and the state of Texas follows the Worldwide Consortium's WCAG 2.1 AA standard. Next slide, please. Digital accessibility documentation is required for all vendors responding to technology solicitations. The intent of these documents is to assist agencies and institutions of higher education in identifying accessible technology and how it complies with accessibility rules and standards. We ask our vendors to provide the required accessibility documentation in accessible format and to be aware that our customers can request this documentation at any point in time during the life of the contract. I'm going to go over these 3 accessibility documents in the following slides, which are the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility, or the PDAA, the Vendor Accessibility Development Services Information Request, or the VADSIR, and the Accessibility Conformance Report, or the ACR. Next slide, please. So going into the PDAA, which is the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility Self-Assessment. This NASIO-sponsored assessment is designed to help us understand how your organization incorporates digital accessibility into its overall business practices, like internal policies, procedures, and operations, all to ensure digital accessibility is integrated from product development and service delivery to customer support and documentation. The PDAA is not an assessment of the products or services in your response. It's to help us understand the responding organization's accessibility maturity. Using the spreadsheet provided in your packet, please answer all the questions to the best of your ability with a numerical value only of 0, 1, 2, or 3, and with no check marks or non-numerical values, please. Again, this is a required document for all vendors responding to technology solicitations. It's important to note that a PDAA will fail if it's missing, incomplete, or has a score of 0. So even if your organization is newer to accessibility, it is possible to have a score higher than 0. Next slide, please. Here we have an example of the PDAA maturity matrix, where the launch stage, which is the second column here from the left, will show a more beginner level, and going down the line to the last column, the optimized stage, will show a more advanced level. Next slide, please. The Accessibility Conformance Report, or the ACR, is a completed voluntary product accessibility template, or VPAT. It shows how a product conforms to WCAG success criteria. All products in the response must have an individual ACR for each product. The ACR should have an evaluation date within the last 2 years. Please remember to include explanations for anything that's not fully supported. Agencies and institutions of higher education have the discretion to adopt a higher WCAG standard and to request an ACR at the time of their procurement, just so that they can make the best informed decision. Next slide, please. Okay, going into the VPAT, or the Voluntary Product Accessibility Template. This is an example of the WCAG 2.1 AA success criteria that's divided into the 4 core principles. CORE stands for perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. For example, for perceivable, does it have alt text for screen reader users? For operable, can it be navigated by a keyboard-only user? For understandable, is plain language used? And for robust, does it have the valid HTML markup? Next slide, please. These are the conformance levels describing how a product conforms to the success criteria during testing. Testing methods should include manual testing and not just automated testing. For criteria that's not fully supported, again, please provide detailed explanations. Next slide, please. This Vendor Accessibility Development Service Information Request, or VADSIR, must be completed for development services, including web and mobile applications and custom development services as part of an integrated solution. The VADSIR should be completed with as much detail as possible to help us understand developer training and how digital accessibility best practices are incorporated into the development life cycle. Next slide, please. This slide shows a high-level review of the VADSIR questions. The questions talk about and ask about product development and product management processes and stages, developer training, such as the resources they use, development and testing tools like those types and methodologies, and the processes and tools on how issues or defects are documented, tracked, and resolved. And also how any work that is non-compliant will be supported. We also request that you provide sample work using a link. We understand that sample work may not be available. If a sample is not provided, we will test the responding vendor's website. Again, please be very detailed when answering these questions if it's applicable. Next slide, please. We have additional resources on our website. We have a page for procurement and vendor information where you can find the VPAT template, the VADSIR, and the PDAA, as well as the PDAA maturity matrix. These templates should all be included in your packet. If you have any questions with accessibility at all, please feel free to reach out to us at statewide.accessibility@dir.texas.gov. And please always copy the procurement lead on any communications related to the solicitation. And lastly, we can do a courtesy review of the PDAA and the VADSIR. Please send those to us at the same email address, statewide.accessibility@dir.texas.gov. And again, please copy the procurement lead. Thanks for your time today.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Shine. I'm Assistant General Counsel in our Office of General Counsel, and these are a few things to note involving matters of law and exceptions. Next slide, please. The required standard terms and conditions that will be included in any contract awarded as a result of this solicitation are contained in the Sample Master Cooperative Contract, which we call the MCC for short, and the Appendix A Standard Terms and Conditions, which are both attached to the RFO as Attachment 1 and Attachment 2. And so when you see the samples, any open or highlighted brackets will be bracketed items will be completed prior to contract award. And if there are any changes that we make to the MCC and its dependencies, respondents invited to negotiations will be informed. And yes, as part of your response, please thoroughly review the MCC and attachments, and I will go over shortly how to note any exceptions if you must take some. Next slide, please. So we generally caution people to not request exceptions to the MCC or Appendix A unless you absolutely must. If you cannot comply with the term of the MCC or its appendices, you may take exception to such term, and you must include alternative language in the response in the table format provided in RFO section 37.36. We do not accept exceptions to the RFO document itself. And yes, the last bullet is just noting again, any exceptions that you take must be formatted in the Exhibit A1 exceptions table. And if you don't have any, then you can just write, your name does not take any exceptions. Next slide, please. DIR will continue exceptions as part of determining best value from the state, and DIR will accept, reject, or negotiate exceptions in its sole discretion. And to note, any exception or combination or prolonged negotiations may result in the respondent being removed from consideration. And the bolded line at the bottom is the most important. We are not able to consider later submitted exceptions. All exceptions need to be submitted at the time of the initial response. Next slide, please. This is designated contacts. Vendors and all vendor representatives, including potential subcontractors, shall not discuss the contents of this RFO with any employees or representatives of DIR other than the designated contacts as listed in the RFO. Failure to observe this may result in a disqualification of your response. Next slide, please. This is noting that you must use your exact legal name, the legal name of your entity, which the name of your entity on the response needs to match the registered name with the Secretary of State. You may not only use an abbreviated name or only use a DBA. If you do have a DBA that you use, that we can include it in if a contract be awarded, if the DBA is properly registered with the Secretary of State. And then the DUNS number as well must match your legal entity name, and the address must match correctly. And one of the reasons that this needs to match is that if there's a mismatch and we aren't able to tell what's going on or what's correct, it may lead to delays. Next slide, please. All information submitted, including all documents, emails, attachments, is subject to the Public Information Act, found in Chapter 552 of the Texas Government Code. If you believe that your response contains information that is confidential, please submit a non-redacted copy and then a redacted copy of the response. And in the redacted copy, please clearly mark any information that is confidential, proprietary, or copyrighted. If it is not marked as confidential, then we will not treat it as so, and we will follow the law. In anything that is requested must be submitted to the Office of the Attorney General before being released. So this is something you should coordinate with your counsel, and additional information is in section 312 of the RFO. Next slide, please. And then this is what we want to note, some newer AI requirements found in section 15.17. These AI requirements include compliance with the Texas AI Code of Ethics and minimum risk management and governance standards, which both the Code of Ethics and the minimum risk management and governance standards have been adopted in rule, can be found in Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 219. I think I can go back to Tony.
Awesome, thank you. All right, now we're back into general information. All right, NIGP code selection. The state of Texas uses the NIGP code, commodity codes, to organize goods and services. They help public procurement professionals accurately identify interested vendors. If selected for negotiations, it is important that the respondent select all applicable NIGP codes for their offer, as Texas agencies will use them to accomplish competitive bidding. This list of available NAGP codes for this RFO can be found on page 2 and will be made available for selection after respondents move to negotiation phase. Next slide. All right, important company information that must match. Exhibit A, response documentation, the Secretary of State registration, Duns and Bradstreet record, and bid stamp Salesforce accounts. Your information needs to match in all 4 of these the same way. Next slide. And the information that needs to match is the company legal name, which including DBAs, that is legal or certain, including punctuation, the company corporate address, the company FEIN number, and the company DUNS number. All 4 of these need to match on the previously 4 mentioned agencies and forms. Next slide. Uploading documents. These are the documents that you'll be for the RFO, and it shows you how you need to label them. You'll do a three-letter abbreviation for your company, underscore followed by 4 zeros and 8 that corresponds with the RFO itself, and then the document what it is, like Exhibit A or Exhibit B. And so it shows you exactly how to label it. This is so it can eliminate any confusion on what is being uploaded for your form. So when we do the evaluations, we know we have all your required documents. And it goes through Exhibit A, B, C, D, E. You don't upload Exhibit E1 because that is part of the pricing sheet and it's just a scenario form. Then you have Exhibit F, G, and I, and then you have Exhibit A for exceptions if applicable, and then letters of authorization for any brands that you're approved to sell. And then you'll upload your pricing sheet into Bitstamp per section 2.3.1. Next slide. All right, Bitstamp overview. Next slide. All right, any respondent responding to this RFO must submit the response through Bitstamp Vendor Information System, VIS. Before users can access any Bitstamp VIS portal functionality, they will be required to provide login credentials to access a new or existing account. Vendors will access Bitstamp VIS portal via https://dir my.site.com/Bitstamp. In the handout we provide you, the link will be active in the PDF itself. If a vendor does not yet have login credentials, a vendor will request one by clicking on "Are you a vendor?" and needs to request an account button that's located on the login screen. Note, when setting up your Bitstamp account, use your Secretary of State legal company name as it is registered, all caps, lowercase, how it matches the Secretary of State's. You may view a video of how to set up your Bitstamp account at the link right here. That will also be on the PDF with this handout. Next slide. All right. Bitstamp submittals. Persons with disability who seek accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act in responding to this solicitation may contact DR, which is at the point of contact in section 3.1, which is myself, Tony Tolbert, and I will help you through this. Please allow me at least 5 business days for response. Next slide. Here is the information for vendors on Bitstamp. How to navigate through Bitstamp vendor login from the DRR homepage. You'll go over to selling through DAR. Next slide. Then you will select the option of schedule of solicitation opportunities. Next slide. In here, you will scroll down to the webpage where you'll find vendor management applications, Bitstamp, and then you'll click on the register or log in to Bitstamp, and the link for that is on the left, and that will also be in the PDF after this presentation. Next slide. In here, you'll provide your credentials. If not, you'll set up your credentials by "Are you a vendor?" that needs your requested accounts. And this is the login for the actual Bitstamp login. Right. Next slide. Once you log in here, this is what you're going to see for the vendor community. It's going to show you my account, open solicitations, your current responses, your information, be DIR and DR contacts. Next slide. Oh, there you go. Actually, I think so. When you want to actually put in your bid, you'll click on Open Solicitations. Next slide. In here, it'll give you a list of current open solicitations in Bitstamp. You will look for the actual RFO number, which is COOP2026 SOL-00008. It'll be listed on the left under the RFO number. You'll click on it. Next slide. And then in here, it will give you the RFO information, when it actually starts, when the questions are due, when your response is due. I also have our vendor conference, which is today, on there. And then it'll show you the questions you've submitted. Next slide. And then so on it, you'll create your response. So you'll click on the first option that was on the previous slide of create response. In there, you'll create a new response or view your current response that is in the progress. If a response has already been created or started, just click on the view response, and that'll allow you to resume where you're at. It also allows you to ask your questions in there, subscribe to the solicitation, or view the solicitation documents. And that will navigate you over to ESPD portal so you can view the documents that are part of the solicitation. Next slide. In here, and this is what you'll see once your response is in there. It'll give you how you can delete, you can submit, ask questions, create pricing forms. You can add in your subcontracting Texas State subcontracting plan in there, and then also you'll be able to view the questions you've asked. And then you will not see the vendor references. That's actually going to be taken off shortly. Next slide. All right, mandatory submissions for this RFO. Next slide. All right, mandatory submissions are Exhibit A, which needs to be signed. Exhibit A1 for any exceptions, if required. And if you have no exceptions, make sure you put no exceptions in the first column on the form and submit the A1. Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and then Exhibit D, which is the State of Texas Subcontracting Plan, your pricing sheet. Exhibit F, if applicable. Exhibit G, that's your PDA. Exhibit H is your accessibility confirmation report, and Exhibit I. And then also you'll submit any signed addenda to the RFO. Next slide. Section 3.8 of the RFO states, DIR reserves the right to reject any and all responses received as a result of this RFO. Responses that do not comply with the mandatory submission requirements may be rejected. In addition, DIR reserves the right to accept or reject in whole or in part any response submitted and to waive minor technicalities when in best interest of the state. Next slide. All right, conference closing reminders. Any changes or additional information regarding the RFO will be posted as an addendum to the requisition number COOP2026 SOL-00008 on ESPD. It is the responsibility of the vendor to monitor the ESPD website for addenda. Respondents and all respondent representatives shall not attempt to discuss the content of this RFO with any employees or representatives of DR other than the designated contacts. Failure to observe this restriction may result in disqualification of any related response. Next slide. Okay. Designated contacts. The contact directly is myself, Tony Tolbert. My email address right there is tony.tolbert@dir.texas.gov. If you need any assistance with Bitstamp, you will reach out to James Burkhart at james.burkhart@dir.texas.gov. If you need help with the State of Texas subcontracting plan, you'll reach out to Teresa at dir.bach@dir.texas.gov. And when emailing any of these, other than myself, James or Teresa, make sure you CC me on those emails. Next slide. And that's closing. Thank you for attending the bidders conference for Co-op 2026 SOL 0008 for cabling services and related products.